Good day, students. Debbie Barnett here, and today I'm going to play through a full game at ilovemahj.com. Now, even though the information has been provided in the previous podcast videos, I just want to make sure I mention again that if you do want to sign up for a free trial at I Love Mahj, the direct link to do that will be included in the video description, so please look out for that. Okay, so here we are at ilovemahj.com, and if you're not already clicked into the play page here, you would click on play and then click on game launchpad. I am already in the game launchpad, so I am going to go ahead and click on play with bots. Now, when you come in and play on your own, you're going to want to click the Just for Fun button. And if you want to enable the practice mode, which will give you hand suggestions and the discard counter, you could click on here. You could change it anytime you choose. So you might want to try it with, and you might want to try it without. Somewhat like using training wheels on a bike when you first start learning how to ride. So that's your option here. I'm going to play an official game, and the difference between Just for Fun and official is that with Just for Fun, your game stats are not recorded. With the official game, they are. So it keeps track of how many wins and how many losses you have. It keeps track of which hands you made and more. And you can learn all about that under your account here where it says My Game Stats. So check that out. It's really a great thing to have. And when you're ready to start having your game stats recorded, that's where you're going to look. And this is how you would have it record those stats, by clicking on Official Game. For the purpose of this recording, I am going to use the advanced level bots. But as previously explained, when you start playing, you're going to want to start with the standard level 1 bots. And the reason you want to start with the standard 1 level bots is that the competition, I don't know if you can hear that thunder behind me, but there's quite a bit of thunder going on while I'm recording this. The standard level bots, this will enable you to win more games since your competition will not be harder. As you move up and play the intermediate level 2, your competition is going to get a little bit harder. So that means they're going to be making wiser choices and using some more strategy. And then finally, the advanced level bots, level 3, is going to give you an experience of playing with very experienced players. And you definitely want to work your way up so that when you start playing in person, you are ready to play with any level player, having gone from standard up to advanced. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to click on Launch the Game. This was discussed previously, but I'm going to let you know about it again. It's always going to ask if you're open to live games. And when you're ready to do that, it's a lot of fun to play with someone else who's online currently and invite you to play at their table. But when you click yes here, if someone invites you to your table during the current game that you are playing, you will then get moved out of that table and into the person's table that is inviting you. So just know that, nothing wrong with it, but be prepared, because if you're playing the other game and you have a really great hand going and you want to see how it ends up, it's going to take you out of that game and out of that table and into another player's game table. So I'm going to click no so we don't get any disruptions. All right, and here I'm going to go ahead and click on Start Game. I want to check to verify that I have level 3, and if you accidentally chose the wrong level, you can always change it back here. I do encourage you to come in here and start with 10 seconds and work your way down to 4. This timer is specifically for making decisions about whether or not you want to call a discard. So even though in real life we don't have a timer, we do have players sitting around waiting for us to make decisions. And remember, if you do set the timer, there is a pause button, so you never have to run out of time if you don't want to. But give it a try, because this will help you improve the speed of your game. And of course, the speed varies when we move through the begin game, the middle game, and the end game. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click Start the Game.
First Charleston.
All right, now we have our tiles, and I am going to go ahead, as I taught you, and sort by suit. I like to put my Winds and Dragons, as you guys all know by now. On my right, I do have one joker, and the next thing I do is look to see if I have any pairs, pungs, or possibly even kongs, although it's rare after getting your tiles dealt in. And as you could see, I don't have any pairs. So it's going to be a little bit more challenging. And when I don't have any pairs or pungs, I go ahead and I will sort it first by suit, because that will help me tremendously decide whether I am stronger in the evens or stronger in the odds. And just by virtue of sorting into evens, I'm left with my odds here on the right hand side. Now I can clearly see that I have 6 tiles toward my, actually 7 tiles towards my evens, and I have 4 toward my odds. So I am going to be more apt to be working in the evens here, and the evens category is the second category on the left side of the card. So of course you can always pause the video and take a look at the card and find that category. As you know, when I was teaching you about sorting the tiles and how to form your categories, I always want you to be able to look at the entire card and see more than just one thing. So in this particular case, what else could I do just looking at the evens? Well, I have 3 2s, and that means I can keep an eye on any like numbers. Yes, we have little bits of everything right now. We don't have hands. We don't form hands yet. It's way too early to form hands. But at this point, I want to be able to think about other things that could be going on. And like numbers is definitely a possibility. I would consider the 2023 section, but I don't have any of those Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde white dragon tiles. I don't have any soaps, and they play a dual role, which is also the 0. So maybe not so much in that category at this point. And also, I have no 3s. So that's another affirmation for me that the 2023 category is not going to be one of the things I'm going to be watching out for. And what about addition hands? Well, we have the 1, 2, 3, and 4 choices, and then the last part, which is the sum of those numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, if I look at the 2s, 2 plus 2 equals 4, wow, I can actually keep an eye on those because I do have the 3 suits, and it would look like this. 2 plus 2 equals 4. That would be line 2 under the addition hands if we end up working on the addition hands. Now I know I did say we don't form hands right now or keep track of them, but sometimes just by virtue of the category and what's going on with the numbers, such as this particular one which uses only 2, we could hone in on one of the hands within that category. All right, so I like all that. Now, is there anything else that I might want to keep track of here? Since the odds is not as strong, I'm not going to really look at the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, but what about possible consecutive runs that might work out there? Well, if I were going to do any consecutive runs, I would want to build off of numbers that are within about 4 numbers of a range. And since I'm working on keeping the odds, which have a lot of these low end numbers, I might want to keep the ones for something in a run that might come up in a 1, 2, 3, 4, in 1 suit or 2 suits, or 3 suits. So maybe I'd want to keep those ones and see what happens. And if that's the case, then I would be able to pass the 7s here. And since I don't have a bunch of wins, I'm not going to even consider the wins right now. So that gives me a choice of passing one of these 2 wins. I prefer not to pass 2 wins together because the wins are very popular this year, and that's also been mentioned previously, but they're very popular, especially the second line under the Winds and Dragons that has the 1, 2, 3 consecutive run pattern. And so I would be okay with passing 1 wind here, and I will try, if I can, not to pass 2 wins at a time to help someone form their hand. You know, you do the best you can. I've said this before. You try to make your smartest, most defensive move, and this is what I'm going to end up passing. So let's see what happens here. All right, so did I get in any odds that fit into what I'm collecting? Well, I got 1, 6 dot. And now I have a 9 crack, 3 dot, and a west. Yes, I have a little bit of 3, 6, 9 forming here, but I can't keep track of every single thing because I have to pass something. So I'm going to click the west, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 9. I would love to keep the 3 because after all, the 1, 2, 3 that I was keeping an eye on is part of that small run. But again, I can't keep everything, and I don't want to break up my evens here. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the 3 dot. And it is a must across, so I can't do a blind pass until the next pass if I want to use it. Did I get in any more evens here? Well, yes, I did. I got a 4 bam. Okay, now it's getting a little bit tougher here because I don't have a whole lot to pass, so I've got to start considering more about what I'm going to be doing. I have to really start fine-tuning this a little bit more now. Well, I do know that the 5 is going to go. Now, when I just got another 1 bam, so now I have to consider what can I do possibly with a 1 and 2 bam. Those are part of a consecutive run hand. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the consecutive run and see, is there anything that I can use with the 1 and 2? Well, I do see that line number 6 has a 2 suit and 2 in a row, 2 consecutive numbers, 1, 2, 1, 2. Of course, you could use any numbers, could be 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 4, and so on. But I just so happen to have the numbers that are showing on the card. So look at that, 1, 2, 1, 2. That is actually a full hand forming there. There's no gaps in this hand at all. 1, 2, 1, 2. And of course, don't forget, we have our joker. So now I went from really thinking about evens to actually having more possibility in 1, 2, 1, 2. And I've also added an additional 2, which gives me the ability to also keep track of any like numbers. All right, so what else are we going to keep? I'm going to keep the 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to keep the 2s. Now, if I wanted to keep track of the 2, 4, 6, 8 as well, let me look at another possibility under 2, 4, 6, 8. So there's another full hand forming, and that is line number 3. Now I know it's going to take time for you to learn the card, but when you go in and practice in the exercise room at I Love Mahj, you're going to learn and strengthen your knowledge of the hand so that you'll see the things that I see, such as this third hand down on the right side, which is our pung kong configuration. That pung kong configuration is shown throughout the card in almost every section and is one of the easier configurations to make because pungs don't require as many tiles as a kong does. Having 2 of them in a hand is quite nice. All right, so now I want to keep my 1s and 2s, which are here already. I want to keep my 1 dot, 2 dot, and 2, 4, 6, 8. And so now, just by virtue of separating all of that out, I'm left with the 6 dot and 8 BM to pass on the first pass. And since I have so much going on here, I'm not going to consider doing the blind pass, which you can do on that first left, because I want to maximize getting in more tiles towards these 3 different things I'm actually looking at already. So let's see what happens here. I did not get anything else in toward what I'm holding, but I am going to continue. Absolutely, you know that you must continue here because I have 3 tiles to pass for sure, because I have not chosen one hand. If I had one amazing hand going on, I would say stop. But in this case, I don't. So I'm going to go ahead now and pass those. I don't have to think much about it because I know what I'm saving here. Now, did I get anything else in? Well, I sure did. I got in a 2, and that means that I'm going to have some challenge here. Well, let's go ahead and get the 3 dot and 9 crack up there. And now I have another 2 toward the like numbers, but still I've got a lot going on there. I also don't want to give up the 1s for the 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm not sure. I mean, if I keep the 1 dot, then I still have that 1 bam and 1 dot, 2 dot, although 1 cracks would be nice because that gives me 1 more tile if it were to be 1 crack, 2 crack. But I also do have the joker. So if we imagine that, and if I do get a 1 crack in, that would be great. So I can't keep everything, and this is a must across. We're now on the second Charleston, and this is pass number 2, and it says it right here, second across. I must do it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pass, keep the like numbers and that consecutive run going on that I'd like to keep track of. So I'll go ahead and I'll get rid of that tile there. Either one, probably fine, but I'm going to do that. And did I get anything else in? Well, I did get 6 bam and 8 bam in. Of course, the 3 I don't need. I'm on the second right, which is the last right and the last move of the second Charleston. So at this point, I can do a blind pass if I want. If there's any reason I want to keep these 6 and 8 bams. But no, I still want to maximize what I might get in. Still hoping that I'll get in something toward the like numbers again, or maybe another something in my 1-2, 1-2 run. And let's see what happens. I'll do those two. Actually, I'll do this one. Mixes it up a little in suits. Not that it matters, but no, I think I'll stick with this one. It doesn't matter, but I think either way you try to just mix it up if you can, but I think this is still a good one right there, because this one here gives us 3 tiles in 3, 6, 9, whereas this one gives us 1 tile, 2 tiles in 3, 6, 9, 2 tiles in 2, 4, 6, 8. You know what? Do the best you can. You're not going to always be able to make the most perfect decision.
Courtesy pass.
But I kind of like that right there. All right, so did we get anything else in? Well, by golly, we did. We got in a 1 dot. Now the 1-2, 1-2 is looking even nicer. I still have like numbers. Now as far as what I'm going to pass, I really do not need the 7 bam, the 4 crack, or the 6 crack. Who knows? I just got in a fresh tile, a brand new tile toward the end. Maybe I'll get one more in on the optional. So I'm going to choose 3. And did I get anything else in? No. But I am left with a south, a 5 dot, and a 7 dot. This now means that I have at least, and the 4 bam, I have at least 4 tiles to discard before I have to make a definite decision. And we'll see as tiles of ours go out during this first third of the game. All right, so we will start by discarding. I am East, as you could see here. And of course, East is the player that starts the game and discards before picking. And that way I will be evened up to 13 tiles. Now we'll talk about priorities in discarding. Even though the South did come back to me during the Charleston, I still like to discard wins first if I can, because it's no guarantee that somebody's not using them or that somebody didn't give up the South during the Charleston during a pass where they had to pass 3, and because there are hands that do use the pungs. It's so much easier to make a wind hand this year. So I'm going to go ahead and discard the South first.
3 dot.
And during this first 33 tiles, which is the first third of the game, so we're going to watch this counter, I don't have to think much unless it's a tile that I am collecting toward a category that I am using. This is how you speed up your play. I don't have to think much right now. So I'm just going to say ignore.
Flower.
I'd like a flower, but I certainly can't call it right now. I don't have any jokers. I don't know what hand I'm playing yet and whether I need a flower. So I'm just going to go ahead and click no there. But I did just get a flower in, and a flower would be great if I were going to play hand number 1 under any like numbers. I'll just put these in, whoops, wrong number. I'll just move these 2s together. And now If I got one more flower in for that pair, which 3, 2, 1 cut. Now if I get in another flower or two, that hand number 1 would be looking even prettier, but it's still a complete hand as far as no gaps. So there is the making of this complete first line under any like numbers. All right, well, the addition hands didn't come into play too much yet, but if I wanted to keep that 4 bam, this would be the addition hands line number 2. Flower 2 plus 2 equals 4. So maybe I'll hold on to that 4 until we see what else comes in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and discard my 7 dot.
6 crack.
And I'll just be hitting ignore until something comes in that alerts me that I need. And I also am going to make sure that I look at the table. I like to get the freshest tiles out first that aren't seen, because people are not ready to call Mah Jongg, as I've discussed before. It makes it harder when you get out the tiles that they need early. So right now I can't commit yet to this 2 crack, even though I would need it if I am playing the like numbers, but I don't want to commit yet. It's too early. I don't have more natural tiles. I don't have more jokers yet. It's just not, I'm just not ready to commit to anything with that 2 crack. So I'm going to go ahead and click ignore.
3 crack. 8 bam.
And I am actually going to discard the 5 dot first, because that was a tile that I got in the Charleston, and I don't know, I don't think anybody's playing with it, because I did have it in my Charleston moves a couple of times, but nonetheless I like to get rid of what was left from the Charleston passing first. I'll go ahead and get rid of that now.
Call 1 bam.
And we have a call here. So Annie has called the 8 dots, and I have the ability to do a joker exchange, but so does Kurt and Amistad. So let's see what happens. All right, now a 1 bam is up. Now if I were, let me put that here. If I were to want to commit to 1, 2, 1, 2, which is the 5th hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th hand down under the consecutive run, I could call that without a joker, and I could definitely commit to that hand. Do I want to commit yet? Oh, this is the tough part, and as a beginner, we get very excited when we can call something. Honestly, I could call that right now, but I'm not sure whether I want to commit to it quite yet. I'm not 100% convinced that the any like numbers line number 1 isn't going to come in for me. I think I'm going to hold off. As hard as it is to hold off, I'm going to hold off. Now, if you did call it, okay, not a big deal, because it's always going to be a learning experience for you. Everything you do when you're playing Mahjong is going to be a learning experience. And if I call this, who knows? I may start getting other tiles in. I may get more 2 dots in to put me in a position to call it. I may pick more jokers. I don't know at this point. So sometimes it's a feeling that you have. But go ahead and try it if you want. Don't worry about it. Every single thing you do is going to help you grow as a player. I'm going to hold off right now, and I'm going to click ignore.
6 bam.
Oh, I'm going to get that east out, because there was a west that I passed early on, or it could have been an east, but I got that out because somebody could be playing east and west with that mini run, and they're just not ready to call it yet. All right, I don't need that.
4 crack. 4 crack.
And I will go ahead and get out. Doesn't matter whether it's the 5 or 9 at this point. if you want to figure out, well, what if he's playing 7, 8, 9, or Annie is playing 7, 8, 9 in, mixed suits, which would be line number 4, no, line number 5 under consecutive run on the right side, flowers 7, 8, 9. As you get to learn the card more, you might say, maybe I'll do the 9 before the 5.
9 crack, 7 bam, 1 crack.
Now there's a 1 crack. I don't need
6
that,
crack.
even though I might need it if I were doing 1, 2 bam and 1, 2 cracks, but I don't have those. All right, so now I'm going to take a quick look at the discards, and I will go ahead with the 5 crack.
5 crack, 9 crack, 1 dot.
And here's a 1 dot. Now here's the same situation I was in earlier about calling the 1 bam. I'm going to let it go because I just have a feeling I don't want to commit quite yet.
9 crack.
And I already discarded a 5 crack, but there are no 5 bams out yet. So I'm going to get that out because I like to get the
5
freshest
bam.
tiles
South.
out first.
West.
And then I'll duplicate them.
West.
And there's a west and another west, so maybe nobody was saving them. Now I have 1, 2, and cracks as well. I did get that 1 crack. Well, if I want to show you something, which is quite fun to do, is to play a singles and pairs hand. Take a look at this here. This is actually, if you don't look at the joker, this is a singles and pairs hand forming here. Now, you don't have to go for a singles and pairs hand until you're feeling comfortable, because in this case, I'd have to give up my joker to do that. But I can still keep an eye on hand number 2 under singles and pairs if I want, because if I get set up really nicely, then I could go ahead and discard the joker. But let's see what happens. Nonetheless, I still have my mini runs going on with 1, 2, 1, 2, and 2 suits. And that, again, is the 6th hand under consecutive run from the top, or the 3rd hand from the bottom up. We'll see what happens. I even have like numbers going on with both 1s and 2s now. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my 5 crack.
5 crack.
And this
South.
could be kind of exciting, so let's see
6
what
bam.
happens.
3 bam.
All right, I am not using any dragons for this particular, these particular hands or these particular tiles, and what I'm keeping track of, so I'm going to get rid of it.
Green, red, south. 3 dot.
And I am not going to be, well, I still could do 2 plus 2 equals 4, but I don't have more than 1. It would have to be 2 crack, 2, let's do this, 2 crack, 2 dot, and 4. Let me put this back up here so I don't accidentally discard it right now. But 2 plus 2 equals 4 would be the second addition hand, but it's still a lot weaker than everything else. So I am going to go ahead and discard the 4 bam because it has been in my hand throughout the Charleston. It is very fresh. There are none out, and Annie is playing with 8 dots. Maybe she's playing a 2, 4, 6, 8 hand. I don't know, but I think maybe it's a good idea to do the 4 bam.
Call. Green.
Well, it wasn't Annie, but someone else was playing with 4 bams, and that's the reason why we get tiles out early. This is why it is so important. You'd rather somebody call and expose than holding on to tiles that are not discarded yet and then having to make a decision later on and give somebody Mah Jongg. So yeah, that's going to happen, but the earlier you get it out, you force someone to then expose, and better exposure than for Mah Jongg. All right, now let's take a look at the tile counter. We are now at 60 tiles. So we've gone through the first third of the game, the first 33 tiles, and we're just into the middle game. So now we're going to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on because we do have exposures. We don't know what anybody is playing yet. It's a bit early. But once another exposure goes up for Annie or Kurt, we'll have a better idea. Of course, I don't need that, so I don't need to really slow up too much yet. But as we get closer to that end game, the last 33 tiles, we're definitely going to have to pay attention. All right, the 3 dot is not discarded yet. I'm going to get that out.
Red. 9 bam. 3 bam.
I hope I get a tile in to, since this is out and the 6 dot is not out yet, my choice would be to get that out just in case Annie needs it. Or Kurt, they both have evens up, but they could be playing bronze.
6 dot.
Don't know.
5 dot.
Ah, there we go. So Kurt has now exposed a pung of 4 bams and a pung of 6 dots. What could Kurt be playing? This is when you want to pause the video if you need and take a look and see if you can find what he's playing. While you do that, I'm going to take a look to see what he's playing with a pung of 4 bams and a pung of 6 dots. Alrighty, have you located the hand? It's a bit tricky. So first thing I did was look at 2, 4, 6, 8. And there are no hands under 2, 4, 6, 8 that uses a pung of 4s and a pung of 6s. There are only, like hand number 3 uses a Kong of 4s and a pung of 6s. But that is not going to work out. So then I took a look and I thought, well, what else could it be? It has to be a consecutive run. All right, what about line number 2 on the right side? 4 bam, which would be the pung, and then 5 bam, which would be the Kong, and then 6 dot, which would be the pung, and then 7 dot, which would be the Kong. So we've got to pay attention to 5 bams and 7 dots. And right now, there is 1 5 bam that went out in the second row, as you can see right here. And Kurt was probably not ready to call that 5 bam. So we'll talk about what to do as the discards go out and we have to make a decision. We're still early at 55 tiles, so we would not hold back discarding anything at this point. Alrighty, I got a 2 dot in. Now I want to put this back into this configuration here because I am really, amazingly enough, forming the second singles and pairs hand.
Green. Mah Jongg.
Okay, so now congratulations, Amistad. I love Mahj. The point system is slightly different than in the way we play when we bet in real life, because if Amistad had picked his own tile in real life, he would have gotten 25 for winning the hand, and he would have gotten 25, which would be double for picking his own mahjong, and he would have been paid 50 cents from everyone. But I Love Mahj has slightly different calculations for winning, and they add 10 points instead to the winning hand. And if I had given Amistad mahjong, then they would have minused 10 points from me for giving mahjong. You do have a video in the podcast series about scoring. This does follow the scoring on the National Mahjong League. So he got 35 points. Let's talk about why he got 35 points, and then we'll take a look at the hand he made. Well, he got 35 points because he picked his own Mahjong tile. Had he needed the 5 dot that I discarded, he would have only gotten 25 points, and I would have been minus 10 for giving him Mahjong. But in this particular case, he got 25 plus 10 for picking his own Mahjong. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the hand. It does conveniently tell you what line it is, but you might want to ignore this for just a bit and see if you could find the hand yourself. East and west, and that is either, well, it's got numbers in it. So the only hands that have run of numbers is line 2, east, west, 6, 7, 8. We talked about that briefly earlier on, and I said that the winds this year are very popular, especially that hand. And guess what? Somebody was playing it. Well, remember when I threw out that west? Either he was not ready to call the west, or maybe he didn't have the jokers to cover the west, or maybe he did have jokers and he didn't need to expose and give more information about his hand. Nonetheless, his hand came in very, very nicely, and congratulations, Amistad. We always want to be happy for our opponents when they win. And let's see now. Kurt was playing consecutive run line 2. Again, you might want to try to find the hands and see if you could figure out what was played. This one is 4, 5, 6, 7, and that would be line 2 under consecutive run. The Pung Kong would have been what this line configuration would have been if Kurt won. And then Annie was playing 8 and 9 with the soaps. Now, do you remember when we talked about, and I discarded a tile? Let's just see my discards. All right, so when I discarded, what was it? I talked about it possibly being a mixed suit run or a run. It could have been the 7 dot that I had discarded, or maybe it was the 8 crack. He had up 8 dots. I think it was the 9 crack. And I said, well, let me get it out because maybe he's playing a run. Well, look, he actually was playing, I'll close this out. He actually was playing a run. And what hand is this? You could pause the video and look for it and see if you could find it. Okay, well, did you find it? Line number 3, it does say it right here. Flowers, 8 and 9 with the matching dragon. There you go. The matching dragon to the dots is the soap. Yep, that's a beautiful hand. And Annie was on call or ready or set, whatever way you want to describe it. But she was ready to call Mahjong. She could have called Mahjong if she did a joker exchange with her 8 dots that she had up, or picking another natural 8 dot. Let's just look again and see. Did the 8 dots go out? Nope, they did not. The 9 dots didn't go out yet. So she could have picked a 9 dot, not a soap, because there was one soap out already. So in this case, an 8 dot, a 9 dot, and even a joker would have given Annie Mahjong. She came very close. And look at how close I came here to the singles and pairs hand. I'm not saying that would have been it, and that's what I would have gone for. But if I had picked up a flower, if I had picked a flower or a 1 crack, you better believe I would have discarded the joker, because I would have then been set to call Mahjong. And nobody else was playing. Look at that, only 2 flowers up. Nobody else, so there were still plenty of flowers out. Nobody was playing with 1 cracks. I would have had an excellent shot at winning that hand. All right, well, this is the end of this lesson. I am going to do many, many more of these, so you're going to get to see a lot of hands and a lot of games playing out. But don't forget, please, you're going to be able to rewatch this on the MahjCon, MahjCon YouTube channel. Please subscribe because you will see all of the videos that I post. And please consider joining on Wednesday night. I have live streams that occur every Wednesday night where I walk through skill building with an audience on YouTube and on Zoom. And to find this link, the easiest thing to do would be for you to go to MahjCon and send me a message through the Contact Us link and let me know that you would like to be added to the email list. I email everybody on Sundays or Mondays to let everybody know and remind them about Wednesday night skill building. So I am hoping that you will consider joining, because as you get to be a better player, this is going to be something that's going to be a lot of fun for you to participate in. Don't forget the link to try I Love Mahj under my affiliate is in the video description. Until the next video, please practice, practice, practice. Practice does make perfect, especially in this game. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.